Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and now that my two obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. And OmarIsuf did a video a couple days ago that someone asked me if I would cover it, and I went ahead and watched the video. It's actually a pretty good video, and I know my point of disagreement with Omar is going to be nuanced, because I'm going to agree and disagree. Omar basically made a video explaining that we don't burn as many calories as we think we do during weightlifting, that there's research done on it, and they've taken numbers and looked at it. And for example, if you deadlift 405 for 8 reps, you burn something like 8 or 10 calories from it, right? And that makes sense, depending upon your body weight. That makes sense because there's really not that much energy being expended. And you know, people talk about lifters need this enormous amount of calories, and we do need enormous amounts of calories. And for example, I actually do track my intake, and I know what my maintenance is. My maintenance calories are around 38 to 3,900 every day. That's what I have to consume to maintain 215 pounds of body weight. That's what I consume. Now, of course, when you say stuff like that, you'll have people who will say silly stuff like, well, if you burn that many calories, why aren't you ripped? Because I eat that many calories. It's not that hard to figure out, guys. If you know what your maintenance is and you've been the same weight for 3 months straight, right, with minor fluctuations, and you track your food intake, you know that that's your maintenance, right? And if you're eating your maintenance and you're not losing weight and the scales staying the same, you're obviously not losing insane amounts of body fat. You might be recompositioning a little bit, but you're not losing pounds and pounds of body fat at that point. So, you know, it comes back to the point of I'm burning a lot of calories, and I know I'm burning a lot of calories because I'm eating a lot of calories and I track them. Not that hard to figure out. So the point that Omar makes, though, is that we don't burn that many calories lifting. And I agree. Where I disagree is lifting weights is a weight loss strategy. And the reason I disagree is it's not about the calories you burn during the lifting. And I'm even going to say it's not even about the epoch afterwards, the post-workout recovery window, because that's actually relatively small also. In other words, we're talking about something like 30 to 50% more calories. So if you burn 100 calories during a weightlifting session, you're only going to burn maybe another 50 throughout the day due to your elevated metabolic rate as a result of recovering. That's still only 150 calories. That's not an enormous amount. And he is right. We could go take a walk and burn that, right? We could go take a 20-minute walk around the block and burn that. And I personally do less cardio. I do low-intensity cardio every single day. I do extra conditioning work. I do all those things. But the point that needs to be brought home is, why do lifters have such an enormous energy turnover? Well, notice it's not all lifters. And that's the thing that's interesting. And this is based upon my own observations. And I believe it's because, number one, people who lift way more, we carry more body weight. Number two, we have metabolically active tissue. And particularly people who do a lot of leg training, we tend to have higher energy turnovers if we do anything else other than lift. And that's where I'm going to say the real benefits to lifting comes in terms of weight management, I think, is multifold in nature. Number one, I think, is the fact that most of us who lift hard and heavy, we eat enormous amounts of protein. There is absolutely a large thermic effect associated with that, right? There's other things going on as a result of oftentimes our protein intakes. Then if we do a lot of leg training and you have a lot of leg muscle, like for me, my DEXA scan showed that I have something like 29 pounds of lean tissue in each one of my legs, right? My legs are pretty big. You guys have seen me squatting in the short shorts and stuff. You guys can argue that my biceps and stuff aren't that great, but I've got big legs. I've got big glutes. I have big quads, calves, hamstrings. Easily bodybuilder size, even though I'm not a bodybuilder. So what happens when someone who lifts heavy and has a lot of leg muscle, what happens when they go do cardio? What happens if they have a physically active job? What happens if they get involved in any other activity? We just burn a lot more calories doing other stuff as a result of that. And I think combined oftentimes with the thermic effect of the protein, that's a big deal too. Now you take me, for example, I do daily list cardio. You guys know how much leg muscle I have. I've got DEXA scans showing it. I do daily list cardio. I do other conditioning work. I eat something like 250 up to 300 grams of protein every day. There's a thermic effect associated with that. The end result at my body weight and my overall activity pushes me up to like 3,800 calories a day on average. That's what I need to maintain body weight. That keeps me at 215-ish. So you take stuff like that, and then you have to look at it from that perspective. And I'm only using myself as an example there because I track my food intake. I know what I live. You guys see my training. My training is posted online every week. But I've known guys who weren't that much bigger than me who had even higher energy turnovers. I used to have a friend who had to meticulously track 4,800 calories a day up to anywhere from as low as 4,500 to 4,800 calories a day. And he only weighed about 225. Drug-free lifter, actually drug-tested IPF guy. I'm personal friends with him. He was actually having to weigh and track that because just his 4 training sessions every week and the amount of workload he had combined with his body weight, his lean tissue, he had a physically active job, right? He was on his feet, oftentimes doing a lot of lifting and moving and everything at a very physically active job for 40 hours a week, combined with being a 225-pound power lifter. The end result of that, just the amount of moving around he had to do with his body weight, his tissue weight, the amount of protein, everything that he ate, pushed him well past 4,000 calories every day. And when he would drop down to 4,000 calories, he had to resort to drinking liquid calories to get his numbers up, because if he would drop down to only 4,000, his scale weight would start going down and his list would start to go down slightly. And so it bothered him. He wasn't fat. I would put him he was a normal, healthy body fat. You know, not ripped, not bodybuilderish type of lean, but he also didn't have love handles, had a flat stomach, a little bit of visible ab, and a healthy, normal body weight. But a slightly taller guy weighing 225-ish, and I think he competed in the 105 kilo class. But he didn't cut weight for it. It's just his natural weight kept him there with the eating he was doing. That's the situation that he was in, is that was what he was having to consume. So I think what you have to factor in with all of this for lifters, people need to remember it's not just the lifting. You're actually not burning that many calories lifting, and I agree with that. Lifting weights itself as a calorie burn strategy just realistically isn't that effective. But when you start thinking in terms of muscle tissue, if a person is willing to dedicate several years to gaining very large amounts of muscle tissue, let's say they were to maximize their muscle gains over the next 3 years, and then they're physically active in general outside of that, and they're consuming a high protein diet, they're doing conditioning work and cardio on top of their weightlifting, and they're carrying an extra 20-25 pounds of lean tissue that they've gained from the years of training, they're going to have an enormous energy intake, and that person is going to be able to eat a hell of a lot more calories than someone else who's just starting out, who isn't weightlifting, who's trying to engage in the same amount of cardio and conditioning they are. It's not even going to be within a few hundred. It's going to be 1,000. It might be 2,000 more calories a day that they end up eating. And that's just my observation of lifters over the years. Now, do we see lifters who are strong, have a lot of muscle, who have lower maintenance calories? Yes, we do. It's one of the things you notice. They're not physically active outside of their lifting. In other words, they're usually people with sedentary jobs who don't do any conditioning, they don't do any cardio. And I do meet guys like that out there who have a 2,500 maintenance, and you'd be surprised. They are there. They are there. But it has to do with the other aspects of their diet, the other aspects of their lifestyle outside of the weight room. They're people who literally just sit around recovering, sedentary jobs, no physical activity outside of their lifting. A lot of those guys with a pretty significant amounts of muscle and strength do actually end up having maintenance calories under 3,000, but it's a product of their overall lifestyle. But the difference that we need to factor in is that people who do just cardio to lose weight lose muscle tissue at a much faster rate. They're going to have a lower work capacity and everything else. And that's what you need to remember. The weight training gives you a higher metabolic rate. You're going to burn more calories with the other activity you do, and it tends to improve your work capacity. In other words, if you take two people who do the same amount of endurance training, one of them can squat 150 pounds, the other one can squat 450 pounds. The guy who squats 450 is going to have a higher work capacity when he's doing the cardio, and he's going to burn a hell of a lot more calories when he's doing the other activity. All right, guys, so that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.